Harris coming to you via IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartRadio station, as well as on social media live. And I am with the phenomenal Courtney Gutierrez, who has so many talents. I'm going to let her tell about her in 1 minute. Is actually, we have more than one reason today.
Yeah.
Firstly, the Beyond Beautiful World inaugural pageant is this Saturday evening, and I cannot tell you how amped I am about it. And this is going to be the beginning of the rebirth of the Black pageants for women in this area. Because for those of you that know me, know I was a pageant fan growing up my entire life. And for some reason, at some point, they seem to like fade away and fall off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the major pageant, the Miss Black Illinois, that was local, but we didn't see a lot of other pageants for Black women in this area. So we'll discuss the creation of the Beyond Beautiful World pageant, but that is happening this Saturday at the Gallery Guichard, 436 East 47th Street in Chicago. And it can also be viewed live via our virtual ticket option. So that's not, we are going to discuss the Ms2q Pageant, which is also happening this month. That is the creation and the love child of Ms. Courtney Gutierrez. And when you start the children off in the right way, though some may stray, they do come back.
Yes.
And she is giving these young ladies the foundation from which they can build not just a beautiful exterior, but they are also able to build a spiritual interior. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the Black pageant world in general. So we can have that discussion because things are about to change.
Yes.
Things are about to change. So, having said that, Mrs. Gutierrez, thank you so much because not only is Courtney my soror, we are Sigma Gamma Rose, we are in the sisterhood. Not only is she here supporting me as a person, she is the Beyond Beautiful World pageant coordinator and I am, was I your first business client?
You're my first luxury client.
I am her first luxury client. So we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that business as well. But let's start off with the Ms2q Pageant.
Okay.
Tell our viewers, why does this pageant exist?
So I am a former pageant queen. I am a former state title holder, Miss Black Illinois USA 2013. It was probably the most defining moments of my life outside of being married and being a mother. I started this pageant because I was the girl who got into the mainstream pageants with very minimum coaching, direction, um, or just I didn't grow up in that world, but I had a mother who, hmm, as I see other mothers do, to an extent, vicariously lived through me in this experience. She did everything else besides a pageant. And so when I think about Ms2q, I know that I wanted to be able to pour into my daughter. When I found out I was having Zena, I'm like, how am I going to give her the things that I need her to have in order to walk in this world? And therefore, the birth of the Ms2q Pageant and workshops as well. So it came about on two things. I wanted to be able to give back to the yellow, tan, brown, and Black beautiful girls who want to be able to participate into pageantry, or who I felt had they had a foot to go into, that they will be able to go into those mainstream pageants, get those $40,000, $50,000 scholarship prizes, be competitive, and use those things to better their lives as well. But then also as a challenge for myself to help me start the rearing of my own child. therefore, the pageant and the complexity of workshops and spiritual connection that I give my girls through the Ms2q Pageant and workshops. And it's a full scale pageant. You don't see you don't see my pageant the way I do it any other place. You don't see the pillars of etiquette, confidence, empowerment, presence being instilled into these girls first, and then the competitive offset of, okay, let's do this pageant and see who can put everything that we learned to the test and be the best of the best after that. One thing our girls know is that they are all winners, that they are all princesses, but there's only going to be one crown per category. And therefore, they've prepared themselves to applaud someone else besides themselves.
And what is the age group with whom you're working?
I work with girls ages 1 to 16 years old. This is our first year, year 5. We've been in existence for 5 years. Year 5, we brought on the teen pageant. And so we're going to have some teen contestants vying for that title. I did find it difficult to initially bring in teen contestants. And then I also thought about the age group to work with, because I didn't want to overstep and go into people's junior and senior years, giving them a lot of responsibility and so forth. And then you go into the colleges and you have the HBCU pageants, and you have the fraternity pageants as well, that I know that my demographic will participate in. So that I knew that that was kind of taken care of, or at least that's not where I felt that I was most needed. So therefore, I stopped at age 16.
When we think about pageantry for not just women, but for younger girls, the viewpoint is so different, because I get a lot of emails now about pageants. And when I see them for the younger girls, they are typically the ones that are in our community are just photo based.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just financially based as far as fundraising. But I didn't see, and I'm not saying I've seen every pageant out there, but the ones I have seen, I didn't see any component that actually worked with and addressed the child's development itself. So that alone sets the Ms2q Pageant above.
Thank you.
And when I look at what are the options for women in pageantry that are of the global majority, I still don't see what I used to see.
Right. That pride.
Yes. I mean, even when they would do that poem that drives me totally insane from Mother to Son by Langston Hughes, which I would see every year on the Miss Black Chicago competition. Oh my gosh. But they were passionate about it. They were in it. They were in it to win it. And in the past few years, I just haven't seen it as much. I haven't seen that demographic as much. So for those of you who don't know the founding of the Beyond Beautiful World pageant, it came from 2 different avenues that merged with the prayers and the direction of God. One being my love of pageantry, even though my mother was not a pageant person at all. My mother was like, go to school, twirl a flag, run some track. But when you start talking about pageants, her eyes would glaze over. So I didn't get involved for it myself. But as my god sister and I discussed yesterday, I was coordinating pageants because I have 6 god sisters and a god brother. So we were having pageants at her house when I was 8, 9 years old, and I was a coordinator.
Right.
And they were the contestants, and their brother was the MC. Reluctantly, but he, he went along with it. And now that I am in my 50s and I look back at those times that things were really tough, things were emotionally tough, and there was no celebration of the good times, the good moments, the accomplishments. That is the other reason that the pageant was created, because I feel like we have to celebrate the lives that we're living, because what we think is just everyday stuff is actually way above that. Way above that in our accomplishments, our achievements, what we have overcome, what we have endured. And because it's so normal to so many of us, we don't even think about it.
Man, one of the things that my mom told me, and she's like, "You're a little too tough on yourself." And I say, "Why?" She's like, "Because you're doing and you've done so many great things. It's like you don't even know how to celebrate because you're always looking to get to the next thing. But if you take a moment and step back and look at the good things that you have around you, then you can put things into perspective. And then we live in a hustle and bustle environment that has us always feeling like we have to stay on our toes to accomplish the next thing or go on to the next thing, where really I had to learn how to get some form of contentment about myself. But you said something, I wanted to just go back to what you said. You were talking about you don't know where we lost the pride at of participating in pageants, or why we have kind of fallen back from our own systems of Black pageantry. And the purpose of why we even started African American pageantry or Black pageantry or of the global majority pageantry was because we were not accepted into those particular organizations previously. And therefore, we've had to create our own organizations where our beautiful young Black brown girls can feel as though and know that their Black was beautiful, that they were beautiful, that they deserve to be honored, and that their physiques and their looks and their hair texture was something to celebrate. So we had to create our own thing so that we knew how to celebrate ourselves and not conform to looking like somebody else's. Because I don't know about you, but my legs ain't never been separated with a bow,
No,
even when thinner than this. It's never been
no.
that. So they've gone away, I believe, Rhea, because people are, as much as we have a pride about being African American, being Black, we also have there's a scare, I believe, about coming across as racist or a divisionist if you do participate in things that are strictly and solely about your community. And I think about Irish dance. Yes, you can compete in Irish dance if you're Black or of another racial class, but it's called Irish dance for a reason, because that's the that's the foundation of where it's come from. So I really want first people to recognize that yes, the Ms2q pageant is for the yellow, tan, brown, and Black girl, and we do celebrate our look and our body types and our shapes and our culture and our households. But should you find yourself identifying in that, you can also participate, just like how we now can participate in mainstream pageants.
You made me go on my
I saw you
bag.
did. I saw you bend down and dig.
And I carry this book with me. It is titled Black Beauties, African American Pageant Queens in the Segregated South.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives the history of the formation of the pageants, which is the reason that you gave, in that we were just like the formation of the Black Greek letter organizations. We were excluded from joining others, so we created our own. But let me read this. This is the foreword from Erica Dunlap, Miss America 2004. She says, during that time, and that time meaning early in the history from 1921 to 1970, the Miss America pageant enforced, quote, Rule 7, unquote, which was instituted during the 1930s, stating contestants must be of good health and of the white race. That was Rule 7 for the Miss America pageant. And this further inculcated the deliberate exclusion of Black contestants. Now, what happened was Cheryl Hollingsworth was Miss Iowa in 1970. She was also Black. She was the woman who broke that color barrier
in 1970.
In 1970. But we have to think about it. The pageant had been in existence since 1921. And in having that rule, you had the attempt to negate our beauty as well as our being American, which is a struggle that we have had on so many levels all throughout history. So when we talk about how everyone and everything is quote unquote race based, there's a reason for it. We aren't making it up. We aren't victimizing ourselves because I don't feel like a victim. And I don't associate with women that feel victimized. We are victorious and we are comfortable in asserting ourselves in whatever situation we find ourselves to be. And if there is not a space at that table, that's okay. We made our own table.
Exactly. But and here's the thing: we began to make our own table, and we began to profit from making our own tables. And I believe that is not a popular opinion, but I remember being on another platform with it was a diverse group of women who owned their own systems, and I spoke about that, and I expressed that I see that there's more inclusion, and we've had national beauty queens come from all of these flagship pageants. Not a problem. But you've also had hundreds and thousands of people, African American, who participate in those pageants who did not win, right? So the inclusion created profit, okay? And I never want to shy away from that conversation because I believe that um, if there was no ability to make money from us, we would not have been included. And I think the same thing when I think about marijuana, all African American men who went to jail for something as simple as that. But once there was an opportunity for people to finance what we have been targeted for and
For decades.
for decades, then it's like, okay, everyone can get a dispensary. And it's not something popular to talk about, but it's real life. And it's really been the reason why it's provoked me to do what I do and how the lane that I stay in.
Right.
I stay in this lane for a reason because I'm not going to lie to myself, to my children, nor to my history, my lineage that I leave behind. You will see it, and I'm not saying inclusion is not it's bad because I think it's one wonderful thing. I mean, my husband's Latino, right? So I'm not against anything like that. What I am saying is though that our systems for us allow us to highlight and celebrate our girls differently, where we're not looking for the opinion of someone else.
Who doesn't necessarily have the same viewpoint as far as beauty.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most shocking things to me growing up in a predominantly Black community with the Ebony Essence Jet Right On magazines, or you remember Right On?
Yeah.
He's like, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Was that I didn't know that they were not, those persons in those magazines were not quote unquote mainstream heroes,
Right.
mainstream beauties. You know, Jet had the beauty of the week. And I swore one day I was going to be in there.
You and me both. You and me both. I was like, can I get in there?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know until I was much older, like when they do Unsung on whatever channel that is. I didn't know that those people were quote unquote unsung. I thought that the world celebrated the Temptations
Yep.
and the DeBarge family and X, Y, and Z. I didn't know. So sometimes you have to have the beauty that is a part of the community in which you come from, firmly establishing your mind so that you're confident when you step out into the greater
Yes,
world
ma'am.
that you know what you are, you know who you are, you know whose you are. And with that strength, you can compete on any level.
Rhea, that is exactly what I'm teaching the girls. I said everything I give you is a transferable skill. Okay, when you compete in the Ms2q pageant, you are getting a transferable skill in the classroom, on the field, in the boardroom, in your next competition. These are all transferable skills. We're building up your character to make you strong enough, confident enough to walk in diverse areas. Because exactly what you said, I am firmly established. Therefore, when I walk out, I'm not moved by every wind and doctrine that's being stated.
Nor am I adjusting myself to fit the criteria that was not set for me.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore making myself small
So you feel big.
so I feel
Mm-hmm.
that you are bigger. That's not the answer. And even with the Beyond Beautiful World pageant where we're dealing with women, this year the women are 30 and older. Next year the women will be 21 and older. We have still encountered in our Phoenix Rising testimonial area of competition, some pain,
Mhm.
some battles, some heartache. And everyone is going to face it. Don't misunderstand me. But when you carry that weight and you feel on top of that weight the judgment of others, it's that much heavier. And to have watched these women break the yoke, free themselves from that chain, and have upheld themselves as the creations that God made them is such an invigorating and exciting process. Because a lot of them, just like what we were saying earlier, didn't even think about what they had been through as being spectacular, as
Mhm.
being phenomenal, as being fantastic, until they had to decide what they wanted to talk about in their testimonial.
Mhm.
And it has changed. Some of them have actually come to me and talked about how this has changed their level of confidence.
Rhea, I don't think you talk about your organization how I see it. I think that the Beyond Beautiful World pageant is what women in that age group in particular have been yearning for. Okay. A lot of times, and women know how to celebrate themselves in different ways. Right, we go get our
Yes.
nails done. We get us a little roll stick to fix our face. We sit down. We woosah. We say we meditate. We read our Bible. That's with that level of self care. But it takes a different type of woman, Rhea, you know this, to say, I'm going to get on this stage. I'm going to break the generational curse of fear, of insecurity, of lack, of judgment, and say, I'm getting on this stage. But it takes a leader to be able to walk a woman through that and see that's what you are for them. There's is no stopping.
No.
We're going to push forward. We're moving forward. How can I help you? Like the ultimate encourager for these
Thank
women.
you.
Oh, yeah. You're the ultimate encourager for these women. And it's going to open up so many more doors for them, even in older age, right? Because what's 21, what's 30, what's 50, what's that? That's still young to me. That's my grandmother. She passed away at 91. She was young. She was still young to me, right? I'm
Yes.
saying that if as long as you have breath in your body, there is still more purpose to fulfill. And I believe that each of these women who are going to step on that stage on Saturday will recognize that. If they didn't fully believe it when they first signed up, they know it today. They
They
definitely know it
definitely
today.
know because in my conversation yesterday with my god sister, we literally knew each other from the womb. Our parents were friends in college. And my mother was a Johnny come lately in 63 or 64. So that's how long they were together.
Okay.
And actually, my godfather and my father were rivals in high school in basketball. So that's the history of that connection. And she has two daughters that are teenagers. And we were talking with them via Zoom. And she told me, you've never not done what you decided to do. And I told her, because of the household and the environment in which I was raised, it never occurred to me that I couldn't. And I thank my mother. My father's deceased, but I thank my mother for that on a regular basis, because I know so many people who did not have that opportunity.
Right.
And I can't say I would be this person under different circumstances. And so I have to give honor to the parents that I had, and respect and humble meekness, on my knees praying, thanking the Lord Jesus for having put me in that position,
Right.
because there's so many diamonds that can shine. But if you feel like you're still a lump of coal,
Mm-hmm.
things are very different from your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it on Saturday. I won't say it today. But I told my god sister, I had made a list. I mean, it was like a laundry list of the things that growing up I felt were not right about me. And she was like, I'm shocked. I never knew. And we've been together for over 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Said that's because the battle was to overcome it,
Mm-hmm.
to push through it, and to not let that feeling of temporary insecurity become a permanent state of
Yes,
affairs.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because we all have those moments of doubt, of concern, of worry, but that can't be permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not growing and changing and evolving, you're stagnating, you're dying in your seat. You are literally dying where you are. So we have to start with the Ms2q pageant. I call them babies, but you
Mm-hmm.
call them
Yes.
princesses, and create that understanding in them so that by the time they get to the eligibility for the Beyond Beautiful World pageant, we're not helping women who still have broken parts and
Yes.
pieces. We're helping women to elevate what is already a strong foundation.
So you said some stuff. You talked about I'll say the first thing. When you are raised in a household, well, it does feel like you're being restricted, right? From being able to do what everyone else is able to do.
Oh, yes.
Um, and a level of freedom that you see so many other people have that you're not able to have. But it also saves us from particular experiences in life because of the type of parents that we do have or that we did have.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying like I'm with you when it comes to that. Yeah, but I don't look like life because my parents spared me through that. My parents spared me through that.
Hit that for me. Hit a decline.
And your parents spared you through that
Absolutely.
because they just, as my dad says, oh, I see, I see it before it's going to happen. So I already went through it or I've seen it. Therefore, I'm going to protect you for it. It's not an experience you have to do. But when you talked about that, you say we go from confidence periods of feeling insecure and die. I call it vacillating. We vacillate in confidence, and
Yes.
it is temporary, and it takes a strong person to know, like yourself, to know that these are just temporary feelings that I'm experiencing, and to overcome them. But some people stay stuck there, Rhea. Some people stay
Yes.
stuck there, and then they begin to have children. Okay, and then, like I see it, the pour is only as good as the cup. And so, if the cup is full of doubt and insecurity and rejection and the
Bitterness.
bitterness and the idea of lack,
That's
the
what you
pour,
teach. That's what you teach.
and it's not on purpose.
No.
You want to say, "Oh, baby, you beautiful," but you say, "You know what? She not ready this year for the pageant. A braid got plucked out of her head, and I don't think stuff like that." You let these temporary things, these almost silly things of insecurity that you have as a mother or a parent fall into your children.
There's a battle that we're fighting now, and it's not a physical battle, it is a spiritual battle. And part of how we look at ourselves is again based on the foundation upon which we stand
Mm.
and what we view as important. My son, a lifetime or two ago, was a pageant contestant. He didn't know he was in a pageant. He was very young because he'd have stroked out if he was any older. But I was determined because in my mind, whatever you do, you need to be a winner. Now, if you aren't that great at it, work at it if you like it enough to become a winner, or at least try to say honestly, this is something I want to do. And that's okay, but don't just turn your back on something because of fear and insecurity. And we were getting down to the wire of the pageant. I told you, I didn't pay bills that much. And I'm not advocating this. I'm not advocating, but I did not pay bills that month to make sure that whatever he needed was gotten, and whatever ads that I could not get sold were paid for, etc. And he won.
Mm-hmm.
And was it about him? Yes and no. It was about him because I wanted him to wear the crown and he had to, all of this. But it was also about my wanting to teach him that anything worth having, you sacrifice.
Yes.
Now, we didn't get the lights cut off and anything of that nature,
Right.
but the sacrifice was I have to not do A, B, and C because this is what's important right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I'm in a position where I can do A, B, and C and this, that's great. But that's not where we are today. So this is what I want him to understand, that you are a winner and you have to sacrifice to be what you say you want to be.
Yes.
And that was a life lesson, not just, oh, he has a little pageant crown, etc. You have to want it enough. You have to want it enough. I want a lot of things. Most of them I don't want enough to do what it takes to get them. That's just the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to lose 10 pounds, but not enough that I'm not going to make my vegan s'more.
Okay.
Every
Right.
so often. Now, if it was between the 10 pounds and the vegan s'more is going to win. Now, if it was 25 pounds, maybe not.
Right.
But not enough. But in the creation of the Beyond Beautiful World pageant, after praying about it, after seeing the words in my mind for years and not even knowing what they meant, I wanted it enough that even through the pandemic, I was still working on it, working on it, working on it. And then when God reminded me, because it wasn't I didn't know that you were a pageant queen, but when he reminded me, hey, you have a soror that's not just a pageant queen, she's in the business of pageantry. Reach out. Now we're on an elevated level
Mm-hmm.
because I could bring my business experience and my event planning experience, but I could not bring pageantry experience because I didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, don't worry about how you have to get there, get there.
Mm-hmm.
If I put you on the path, I'm walking it with you. And that is a faith that had to be developed over time.
Okay.
So, and I'm saying this, preaching to hopefully some of the choir and somebody else, maybe not. If you have a goal, an aspiration, a drive, and you've prayed about it and you've gotten an answer and you know that you've gotten an answer, then walk it.
Yes.
If it is being a pageant, if it is creating your own business, if it is whatever, and you know that it is supported by the God you serve, walk it because he will provide for you to accomplish it in the end.
Yes.
Because people are like, how are you going to do a pageant? We still in COVID, etc. You can say all of that. And this Saturday, we'll be at the Gallery
That's
Guichard
what I'm talking about.
having a pageant. And for those that cannot attend in person, they will be watching virtually.
Accommodations.
So, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I mean there is more than a few ways to skin the cat.
Rhea, I wrote about this in a little journal talking about how I almost lost my love for pageantry. And because I've been doing pageants since I was 15 years old, you can get a burnout from something that you do.
Absolutely.
And it was between year 3 and 4, I sunset and I did something different because I was burnt out. Um, I was like, maybe I don't want to be known for doing pageants, or this is not, you know, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? So I was a little discouraged during that time frame. And then when I took my year off, God began to speak to me. He was like, this is what you do. This is what you do, and you're going to do it during the pandemic. We held a virtual pageant for Ms2q last year. I had to come back off of my sunset, right?
Yes.
To say, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then we in a pandemic. I never held a virtual pageant before.
But you did.
But I did. And what I did do was go get the help that I needed in order to do it. I was like, so you really got me doing a pageant online, virtually. It was the most phenomenal pageant season that we had. Workshops were amazing. Everything went off without a hitch. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful pageant. And I'm saying that to say that there's nothing that I cannot accomplish. And that's the mindset that I want all little girls to have for themselves, and women who grew up in that fear element, not knowing, or that, stay underneath the radar, afraid to be seen, type of people, there's nothing that you can't accomplish.
Well, just like the cover photo that you made for me for my Facebook page,
Impossible.
impossible is not an option. When you trust the vision and you trust who gave you the vision, you can manage anything that comes. And it's not to say there won't be rough spots and oh my God spots and spots. But at the end of the day, it will be even more than what you saw in your head. It will be brought to fruition. And knowing that and trusting that, and I'm not saying I trusted this well, that's not true. I didn't know what it was, but I trusted it.
Right.
Sometimes when you're younger in your faith, you have not the understanding, you're just going on the feeling. Now I have the feeling and the understanding.
Yes.
But when you start off with something that you love and you make it this much bigger, it isn't work anymore. It's just joy.
It's passion.
It is passion. And that's what I tell people. When you love what you do, it isn't work because this is something that you would do one way or the other. So when you develop that mentality and that excitement for it, it shows in every aspect of it. So when we're looking at pageant weekends this month, it's like, short of somebody, God forbid, leaving this world or the house burning down with my pageant stuff in it. Let me be clear because there's insurance on the house. I'm not even worried about that. I am amped. And I know you are too. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. But this is, to me, how you should feel about something that you do every day.
Yes.
And if you don't, you're doing the wrong thing.
My husband says, you wake up with Rhea and you go to sleep with Rhea. Can you do that with me? And so I told him, I said, after the 14th, I'll be sure to do that. And then I'm going out of town. I'm going out of town after that. So, and when I come back, I'm going to do that with you too. So it was just so funny because he supports me in what I do. That was something too, because it took up so much of my time. Because when you're a leader and you're a builder and you're creative, you have to build everything. And sometimes you don't see the fruit from what you build immediately. So this is what I've told myself, Courtney, you've planted so many seeds. There's going to be a harvest from all of those things.
Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily going to come from the seeds that you planted. It might come from elsewhere. So I'm telling you, Rhea, and you know this because you got a few more years on me of life, but you know what it's like to see a reap of your harvest. This is a labor of love. When you are working with the lives of people as a servant, you have to serve first and then everything else second. And once I understood that, I had to take some time off for me to figure out how to balance young children, mom, wife. I had to figure out how to balance. Once I got that balance together, I'm like, so you want me to stay in pageants? And then you have this lady, my soror, called me and say, you the one to help me to do this. And I'm like, I am.
Yeah,
I am.
That's a trait I have. And I don't know if I should work on that or not. But
I mean,
I just assume what
I want. When you called it out too, you called it out years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? You called it out years ago. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to do this?
Yeah.
And then right before the timing, the timing was impeccable.
Yep.
Because then once I got the vision clear about what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh no, you get a pageant and you work with women and you get them fit and you build them up. You are a confidence coach. It got very clear.
Yes.
And once it got very clear, then I can say, now I know how to take care of your baby because I made sure I knew how to take care of mine first. That's what I'm excited about.
And to turn it into the Lux group, because one of the things that we had discussed earlier today, and I'm going to mention it now. A lot of times we have this thing called pride where we don't want to admit what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to admit our limitations. We don't want to discuss our shortcomings.
Right.
And in not wanting to admit those things, we can't get help because we aren't telling anyone we need help.
Right.
Like I said, I know how to put on events. I am a certified wedding coordinator, all of that. But that isn't pageantry. I knew I needed help. And 15 years ago, I can't say I would have asked for it
Okay.
because I was still in the midst of, the most phenomenal superwoman ever, even though it was killing me. And even though I still wasn't doing everything right because I still didn't know everything, but I pretended like I did.
Okay.
I knew now, okay, I need help. And God has shown me who to ask for help. And she's not going to tell me no. And that was it for me.
Okay.
So if you ask my husband, if you ask my best friend, they'll tell you. Once I've decided, I'm gone. You can ask Earl.
You can ask me.
When I came to the studio to be interviewed by someone, Chocolate Mocha and Alvin, I said, I like this. I think I can do this. I had my own show with nothing in 2 months, and it was crazy. But then I had a 5-year run,
Mm-hmm.
and it was phenomenal
Wow.
because it was something I wanted to do, and I had someone to help me. Earl helped me, and then when Wanda came on, Wanda helped me too. But that's how I've always lived. If it was something that I wanted enough, and let's put enough in big
Right.
words, big letters, then I was going to get it done. Sometimes bumped my head to get it done, but this time, not so much because it was not just that I wanted it enough, I wanted it so much that I got the professional to make sure it got done correctly. I want you to tell a little bit about the Lux side of your business before we have to go.
Okay. So I've started a company called Confidently Courtney G. I have coined myself as the confidence pioneer because everything that I work in, every facet I work in is making sure that I empower women to have confidence, whether it be royal confidence, which is one of my programs that focuses on health, fitness, and then building up your basic confidence to a royal level of confidence where it has you walking newly, possibly newly with a new body, in a new state of mind. I realized that there was another side of woman that I wanted to work with. And this woman is a woman who is whole. This is a whole woman. This is a woman who is multi-talented, who might be a career woman, who has an entrepreneur insight and wants to run her own business. This is a woman who simply needs support and who needs to be organized and needs a team to help flush out what her brand looks like to the fullest. And so I'm super excited because once I realized that's literally the lane that I want to work in,
Yep.
everything began to roll out. And so Rhea didn't know this right away, but when Rhea and I decided to work together, I said, Rhea's going to be my first luxury client. And what that entailed was that photo shoots, consulting. Me and Rhea talk a whole lot. Rhea's probably gotten the best parts of me and probably more than me than any of my other clients to come will get because you are the first. Not that they get less, it's just more so that we in a way grew in my program together. So Lux Confidence. And when I tell you, when I think of Lux Confidence, I think about a woman who is so sure about herself, but so certain in certain ways of how to plan the path to meeting her goal. That's
Right.
literally what Lux Confidence is all about. And I'm super excited because since we've been working together, I've signed on 3 more clients for
Awesome.
Lux Confidence, and their brands are going to flourish. Their brands are going to be everything that God can give me to make them to become.
And oddly enough, I don't think any of the four of us are doing the same
You are
thing.
not. You are not.
So it's not about necessarily what we are doing in our vision. It's about putting the team and the systems in place so that the vision can manifest.
Systems are so important when you decide to be a multifaceted woman, or when you are blessed to be one. Your systems have to be, as my dad say, lockdown screwball tight. And these are not systems that you necessarily know how to do. You have an idea, but I help you, and my team helps you. Courtney G, confidently Courtney G, we help you put it together. We walk you through your brand management. We walk you through your social media. You walk you through your planning, your scheduling, to make sure that you feel confident in executing whatever the goal is that you have set, whatever the path, lifestyle, business, career path. Hey, maybe you just want to know how to work social media and look prettier on camera. Maybe you're the woman who needs creative direction for your photo shoots, or creative directions for styling of your events. That is what the Lux Confidence Program is for. And we work with women starting on 6 months time frame.
Okay. And
Mm.
because I used to work here, I always check the clock because I know Earl's going to in a minute say, get it, line it up. So give the information about the Ms2q Pageant 2021. How can someone support via ticket sales, etc., and B, if they have a daughter that they would like to, daughter, niece, cousin,
Mm-hmm.
friend's child, goddaughter, if they want to have her engaged next year,
Yes.
how do they get in touch?
So our website is ms2q.org. Our organization is for girls ages 1 to 16 years old. We have age groups top, tiny little tween and teen. And should you be interested in viewing us, you can come to the actual pageant at the Doubletree Hilton Alsup. That's 5000 West 127th Street. Our pageant is held on Sunday, November 14th. Doors open at 2. Showtime is at 2:30. I encourage you, should you want to participate next year, to come and view us today. Tickets are only $25. And if you hear this reference, that you heard this on Intellectual Radio, we have a small gift for you for showing up. And if you want to sign up your daughter for next year, go to our website, hit contact, subscribe to us, and we will contact you after the pageant, after November 14th.
And this Saturday is the inaugural Beyond Beautiful World pageant for women, celebrating womanhood at 6 p.m. Now, let me say this, I am a time person. Courtney can attest to it,
Mm-hmm.
Earl can attest to it. When I say it starts at 6 p.m., that means it's starting at 6 p.m. So you would need to be there by 5:45, because once the pageant starts, I cannot guarantee that you will be seated, because that depends on how the flow of the pageant is going. So contact us, beyondbeautifulworld.com. You can give me a call, 773-270-1490. And virtual tickets, in-person tickets are still available. I would love to see you all there. And for next year, if you are 21 and older, you have the opportunity to show the world that you celebrate yourself as the Beyond Beautiful World pageant celebrates you. So, with that, this is your girl, Rhea Ray Harris, and my fantastic soror guest friend and mentor, Courtney Gutierrez, signing off for the day. Earl Winfrey is one of our judges, so you all know these chicks better be fly, because he's going to let me know if they aren't. But we'll see you as a follow-up after both of our pageants, as well as introduce you to the new queens and the new princesses.
Yes.
With that, peace and blessings in the name of Jesus. We'll see you in December after we see you at our pageants. You said you love me, but lately I've been feeling like that was just a lie.